ha. He has a cousin that looks just like him, only there's his belly button right there. His name is Jim. So whenever you see ha, but he's got this, that's Jim. And so this is the sound of an H. This is the sound of a J. Ja. Now watch this one. Again, another one of their relatives. But instead of having his belly button out there, you see a little dot right above there like that, kind of like an eye, like he's looking at you. And that's ha. Ha. This is the sound you're pronouncing by making a little sound in the back of your throat. Ha. Ha. You practice on that one a little bit. We'll go over it again here. That is ha, ja, and cha. And it's usually represented in English with K and H, like that. Now, there's another cousin, distant cousin to these guys, and he looks like this. Kind of similar, but you notice it's different. Instead of going this way, it comes back this way and then down. And this guy's name is Ein. In Ein, you kind of squeeze the back of your throat when you pronounce this one. And I was told that they don't have this in English. And I said, well, wait a minute. Ein, Ein. I believe we do have that in English, especially down in Texas where I'm from, because we say it all the time. I ain't gonna do it. So that's Ein. And usually it's pronounced like, or spelled like this. A-I-N like this, okay, Ein. But often they'll put an apostrophe right there, and that indicates that little pinching you do in the back of your throat. Ein. There's a similar one, just the same way, only it'll have a dot over it, and that's Rein. Now the way I usually tell people to remember these is if you were down south in the southern part of the United States and your mother told you to do something and you said, I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna do it. And she said, you're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. So that's Ein and a Rein. And that maybe will help us remember it. There's some more that have this big sort of a stomach look, but it's a little bit different. We're going to put those right down here. Now watch this. Watch close. Looks like a W. But now we're going to drop down like this. That's seen. Have you ever seen anything that looked like this? See how that is? Seen. Now there's a relative to this one. They got a lot of relatives in the Arabic, don't they? And we're going to put 3 dots above that one. It's pretty easy to tell this one. You have seen. You have those 3 right there in a group. No dots. And then sheen. Like this. Now here you've got 3 dots. And you've got the 3 stems coming up. Now this one is seen. Sa. Like a regular S. And this one is sheen. There you are. Now keep in mind all the time that when we're working with this, you want to use what you already know. Don't try to make it difficult, and don't try to learn more than what we're presenting at each stage, because we will go into the different levels, God willing, inshallah, and be able to bring all of the letters out and how to put them together. But for right now, let's just focus on what we've got in front of us here. And then the next letter I want to go to is going to surprise you, because you're going to think, well, wait a minute, we already did that. This is the saw lettering. Saw. This is seen, and this is sawed. Sawed. Now, you might say, well, why do they sound alike? Well, I'll tell you what. They don't really sound alike, especially when you use them in a word. The difference between sa and saw. Saw. Sa. This one right here, you smile when you say it. Seen. But this one, sawed. And you see it says S-A-D, sad. A little bit sad. When you say it, say sad. I'm sad. I've seen someone who was sad. Seen, sad. Now, you might say, well, wait a minute. Is there going to be another one here? And guess what? There sure is. And he doesn't get 3 dots, he gets only 1 dot. But his name's not Shad. There's no Shad in Arabic. But this guy has something so unique, and it's so distinguished about him that they nicknamed the Arabic alphabet or the Arabic language after him. And this is called Bod. Bod. Why? Because there's no other language on earth that has this letter Bod. And this one, I want you to go to someone who is an Arab that speaks the native Arabic language and watch them pronounce it. Because I can explain it and talk to you, and you can think about it all you want and practice, but without somebody showing you and you doing it, you're never going to get it perfect. But it's Bod. 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 You're doing some stuff in the back of your throat, moving your mouth a funny way, but most people that don't know Arabic, when they pronounce it, they just pronounce another D. But it's not. It's actually Bod. And this is Sod and Bod. Got it? Now, this is a good place for us to kind of recap what we've got here and put it all together. Now, I've already told you about the stem letters here. This is the stem letters. Okay? This is the potbelly family. Okay? And then we got our special letters down over here, but kind of related to the potbelly family. And when we put these together, you're going to start seeing some amazing things. One of the things you're probably curious about is, well, if I've got these stems coming up like this, but I've got these other stems like that, how will I know what is what? How will I know? Well, whenever you see a group of 3 together like this, and there's nothing else there, then it's seen. The 3 together like that. Have you ever seen anything like that? However, if you see a group come together like this, then with 3 dots, that's going to be sheen. Now, what if we have 1 below? What was that? Ba. Remember? And at noontime, noon. Okay. What if we had 2? What would that have been? Ta. Now, I'm going to continue out over this way. Now, watch this. I'm writing backwards in Arabic. But suppose I had 2 dots underneath that. What would it have been? Wouldn't that have been Ya? Like that? Okay, and then what if I would have had this like that with 3 over it? And wouldn't that have been what? Tha. Now remember, that's a with sound. Light 3 with. So I want to put over here 1 dot again and say ba, tha, yas, ta, na, ba, sha. And that doesn't spell anything in the world, so don't worry about it. But it gives you a chance to see how the stem letters work in conjunction now with this one and this one. Now you said, well, wait a minute. What happened to his tail? Ah, now we're going to another level. We're learning that whenever we write the letters in a sentence or in a word, then those tails that drop down are going to disappear. And that's going to be the case of all of those. So watch out now, because you might see something that looks like this. And if you said, okay, that's a ba, you'd be right. That's a ba. And then you saw one here and you said, that's a na, that's a noon. Okay. I see another one here, that's another ba. No, wait a minute. No, it's not. You see this right here? Well, guess what? That's this letter right here, the ha. Can you imagine what he would look like if he had that tail on there? Well, there he is, because whenever you put him in a word, his tail just connects right up here and keeps going. So you got to keep your eyes open for what's up here. It's only the straight up stems. You got to watch for that. Now, we're going to put 2 over here. We got 2 down here. Now, wait a minute. What's this? Aha. Well, we're finding out now that ya, I'm showing you this one up here, ya, looks like this with the stem only when it's in a word like this. Okay? Because this is na, that's ya, and this is ta, and this is what it looks like when it's at the end of the word by itself. It's called ya. See it? And it has two dots. See it? So whenever you see this, it looks kind of like an S. That's actually a ya in the Arabic. At the end of a word. Ya. And I'm going to write a simple little word for you right here. Watch this now. That is the letter A. That was, we had it right up here. That is Ein. Ah. But again, he lost his tail because they don't get to keep that little tail when they're connected to another letter. So watch out. Now when you see this, that's Ein. So you say Ah, and this is another letter which we didn't show you yet, but I'll be telling you about it. It's not the Aleph. It's an L, La, and this is Ya. So that's Ali. Ali, or it could be Allah. And we'll talk more about that later. But this shows you how the letters, when they lose their tail, whenever they're connected to other letters. But at the end of the word, you will see their tail sticking out. So that's how many of them are going to be. And watch, that's all of these that I just showed you here. The Ha, he's one of those who will lose his tail if he's connected. The Jim, he will lose his tail. The Kha will lose his tail. The Ain will lose his tail. And the Ghain will lose his tail. All of them will. And so will the Sin and the Sheen and the Sad and the Wad. I'm real proud of me for getting that Wad sound. You know, I'm working on that. So when it happens that they lose that tail, then they can just connect up to the next letters like this. Okay? But you've got to keep your eyes open, because if you'll see this right here, you'll realize that there's another place in the Arabic where we have 3 dots. But it'll be only over one stem. So when there's only one stem and you have 3 dots, okay, that is th. But when you've got 3 stems and 3 dots, that'll be sha. Now I know right now you're thinking, whoa, wait a minute, this is starting to get complicated. But I gave you the hardest part. You've now done the very hardest part. The rest of it starts getting easier because you already know something now. You're going to use what you already have to move forward. Now, having said that, I'm going to let you take time to write down what you've seen here. Obviously, you know by now you should have had paper and pen ready. You can always back this program up to each one at the beginning of the segments and then go through and review and write these things down. I'm going to give you time to do that right now, and when you get done, come on back and go to the next segment. We'll be right here. Kha, Ain, Ghain. The Sin, which was down here. Sheen, connected down here. Sod, Vod. And then we did some connections of some of the letters here and talked about what happens when they get cut off. We're going to come in a little bit closer on this part right in here and let you have a chance to look at this up close. Well, what did you think about that?
That was quite amazing and very creative. I would never have thought that anyone could be able to teach a language in such a creative manner.
Well, a lot of it depends on the student. It always comes back.
Well, Sheikh Yusuf, we know that your work has certainly gone a long way to build good relations with the non-Muslim world, and we pray that Almighty God Allah will continue to bless your efforts. And thank you very much for being here with us today on Bridge to Faith. Once again, this brings us to a close of another edition of Bridge to Faith. Join us again next week. This is your host, Mutahir Sabri. Peace. Assalamu alaikum.